Welcome to the First 40 Sports Show. It's Black Thor and the Grand Puma. And we're going to be talking about March Madness a little bit later, but we want to catch the top story today with Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron Rodgers possibly going to the Jets. And we have purposely not talk about Aaron Rodgers because he really loves attention and we don't want to give him that much attention. But Black, when I first heard this story and I'm looking at all the demands that Aaron Rodgers wants, and that now it's in the hands of the Green Bay Packers where they get to kind of figure out what they want out the deal. If I was the Green Bay Packers, I would leave the cupboards bare with the Jets based on what Aaron Rodgers wants, what they signed that contract for. And I said this a few minutes ago, we were talking before the show. Aaron Rodgers is doing the same thing as Brett Favre, going to the Jets, and then I wouldn't be surprised he's not happy at the Jets, then goes to the Minnesota Vikings.
You know what I think the NFL has done? Has made the quarterback position so highly rated that these guys can screw corporations over left and right. That's what Aaron Rodgers has done to me with the Green Bay Packers. You have to, Brett Favre did it first. Now it's Aaron Rodgers' turn. And here's a man that's basically hasn't won anything in how long? But they think that he's going to catch it in a bottle again. And they keep paying him. Now the Jets believe they can bring him to town. And all of a sudden it happens. Jets are not a bad team, but at the same time, I don't think Aaron Rodgers comes in there and take you to the Super Bowl. I just don't believe it's going to happen. He's a diva, bro. He's a diva. So I can't be mad at him. I may not like the way he does his business, but I can't be mad at him understanding that basically you want something that I provide. I'm going to basically get what I want in turn. So for that reason alone, I kind of, I wave my hat to him in a sense to say, man, he's doing what he has to do. But it's just done such in a diva manner, so I can't understand it. I can't appreciate it. But again, man, quarterbacks, so you think about this. Look at the cat that's in Cleveland. This man basically was away from football for how many months for doing, accused of basically doing what he did. And the Cleveland Browns threw $230 million at him, even though they kind of reduced this contract. Now they kind of made some changes to it. But think about that for a second. You have quarterbacks that basically look at Kirk Cousins. I can go down a list, man. With these quarterbacks, they don't have to perform that well, just perform decent. And these NFL franchises, they bend over backwards and they treat them like if you bring them to town, you're going to win a Super Bowl. In most cases, it doesn't pan out. And here you have a team like the Ravens, got a gym in there, a gym, and they don't want to pay him. They don't. So I don't understand it, bro. But I wish him luck if he comes to New York, the Northeast. Come on, man. But I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. You better bring yourself a coat of steel because the media is going to light you up, bro. When you play bad in New York, it's nothing like Wisconsin. They're going to light you up.
I don't really know what the Jets expect from him at this particular point in his career because he is long in the tooth in his career. He's been talking about retiring. I don't think he has the passion to play football. I think this is a really great marketing tool for him to be in a metropolitan city like New York to get a lot of attention. The attention is going to be on him, but he's going to think being in Wisconsin and Lambeau is heaven compared to if he doesn't do well with the New York Jets because we're from the area. We know how we get on our sports figures when they don't do well in New York. And so he's jumping right into the fire pan. If he didn't think he was happy in Lambeau and Green Bay with the media and people getting on him, wait till you get to New York and have a 2-3 game losing streak. You're not in a division where you can really kind of take over. You got Buffalo there. You got Miami, emerging. You got some teams in there. And then you're in the AFC with a lot of great quarterbacks in the AFC. So if he thinks he's going to a playoff-ready team, I think he needs to really kind of think about this. It sounds like he's on his way to the Jets. They're giving him everything he wanted. Green Bay did the same thing, and he wasn't happy. Jets are going to do the same thing. I don't think he's going to be happy. I just don't think he's a happy person at this particular point in his life. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do at the end of his career.
No, he's not a happy individual. That's very true. I don't think he's happy. We forget. I don't think we talked about this that much. That he fell in the first round. Remember, he fell and they had to take him out of the draft room. And they put him back in the blue room.
Yeah,
because nobody took him and he kept failing. And the reason why they saw all this diva in him. It wasn't his playing abilities. Teams passed on Aaron Rodgers because for this reason alone, bro. They saw this California kid coming out, thought that his stuff was blue. He was this and that, and he was aloof, and nobody wanted to deal with him, bro. It's gotten worse over the years. Now, to his credit, he has basically, when he has a chance to play, he has played well. I mean, 2 MVPs at this stage of his career speaks volumes, but his personality is weird to say the least. And the Jets, the Jets, even if they don't win a Super Bowl, Jets just want a good quarterback, man. When the last time the Jets even had a decent, quarterback? Forget good, decent quarterback. So for the Jets, they're just going to shoot. They'll give him the Statue of Liberty if he asks for it. At this point, they just want a quarterback.
I believe it. I believe it. Enough of Aaron Rodgers. Let's go to what the show is really going to be about. We're going to do an abbreviated show because I know everybody's filling out their brackets. I got some research to do before I put in my brackets. Ice has set it up. I got Pop's picks. He made some interesting picks. I have to respect it. I have to respect his game. But I'm going to go to you first, man. You are the reigning champion of the March Madness picks. And what do you think about the brackets? Because there's some interesting dynamics in this bracket. It's almost like it's a free for all, and they're setting up for some really great second round, third round, really games. And it's almost like you really don't know who's going to win, but I guarantee it's going to be an exciting tournament.
I think, honestly, man, we've been doing this for a while. I've been doing brackets for a while. I think it's one of the better brackets I've ever seen. I mean, you can listen to people every year. This team didn't make it. This team should make. This team should be ranked high. But I think based on what I've seen watching college basketball this season, bro, the brackets are, like you said, it's going to be a free for all, man. I mean, you may think you know, and you don't know. You really don't know. I mean, like you said, with Pop's bracket, it may look strange. Now, it may turn out to be the perfect one, and that's what it is. These teams, man, on an even given day, it's not NFL like on Sunday, but any given game, you look at Kansas. For a week, Kansas looked like they was unbeatable. Then all of a sudden, people blowing their doors off. Even though Texas looked good at one point, I remember part of the season, Texas was getting bounced around. Bell at one part, you couldn't basically stay in the court with them. Then everybody's kind of taking them down. So it's like they haven't been a strong in my opinion, this whole season. They haven't. I know Atlanta and Houston's been up there, but to me, I see flaws and I watch their games, man. I think they could be picked at any particular time. There haven't been a lot of school play that's been just dominant, consistently dominant. Even Purdue, you look at them at one time, they look like they was a powerhouse, and you kind of watch them a little closer. Like, So I don't know, man. I think this sets up to be very interesting. I think there's going to be some names that maybe not are common that we're going to see in the 8, in the Final 4, and probably in the final championship games, man. I think there's going to be some schools that you looked at and thought, I'm not sure, but they're going to find a way to win 6 games and get there.
If any season or any tournament that I thought that none of the number ones would be in, this would be the tournament. Because all year long, you had the number one team get up there for 1 or 2 weeks, get knocked down. Every one of them have been like number one 2 or 3 times during the season. And, maybe they wake up and say, hey, we're number one seed. We play an easier schedule. We get to move on. But there's some games that are really intriguing to me. Oral Roberts and Duke is a really intriguing game to me because nobody's really talking about Oral Roberts a lot. Maryland, we were talking about Maryland earlier this season. They play against West Virginia. I predicted a couple of weeks ago that there will be 8 to 9 teams from the Big Ten. They put 8 teams in from the Big Ten. I thought Michigan would get in, but they're playing in the NIT. The Xavier matchup. And, of course, all the 16 seeds, I don't expect them to be there. But Iona and UConn, Pitino against Hurley, that is going to be an interesting matchup in that first round. It's almost like that wasn't even fair to do that to UConn because Pitino is up for a position in the Big East, somewhere along in the Big East. Georgetown got rid of their coach. St. John's is looking for another coach. So Pitino is, I think, trying to audition to get in that Big East. And what better way to do it than to take out a Big East team?
Yeah, I think UConn to get by him. It's going to be tough. But on the point about hiring Pitino, why? I just don't understand it. I really don't. Syracuse, why? Georgetown, I mean, of all schools, If George Kahn hires Patino, I wouldn't watch a game, bro. I'm serious. I mean, he's a shyster, to say the least. At Georgetown, if you're that desperate, seriously, man, to hire Patino, I mean, you follow what Thompson did years ago, and it's been years ago. What that school stand for, from a basketball standpoint, find yourself, and I have no hesitation in saying this, Georgetown. Find yourself a young black coach that can motivate men and recruit good men to come there and take that school to where it needs to be, bro. I'm sorry, man. You bringing that slime bucket, you ain't going anywhere. And I said the same thing to Syracuse. I mean, I don't care that much about Syracuse because Boeheim, to me, basically ran amok there. So if he wants to go there and piss on the carpet and knock himself out, maybe I can understand that. But Georgetown, don't be that stupid. Please don't be that stupid. I don't think any school, for this matter, Iona, it is what it is. I don't think any school should give this guy a chance to basically say anything to a young man. It's not that. It's not worth it. At the same point, if you're a university and you stand for anything, it's not worth it, bro. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, these schools are desperate at this particular point, and some of these schools haven't been winners in quite some time. And I can see them being desperate enough to hire Coach Pitino. Look what he did at Iona in the last couple of years. Just we didn't even know where Iona was, and then he just steps in there and he has them in the tournament. I think for the last 2 years, and he may beat UConn. He may knock out UConn and really kind of spruce up his resume. We talked about this when the incident with him first happened, that he'll be away for a while, and then all of a sudden he'll make a comeback. He'll take a college nobody knows. He'll make a comeback, and his son is doing real great at New Mexico. So I expected this. Now, whether he goes to Georgetown, Syracuse, it seems like a Big East team is trying to land him.
Yeah, hey man, I wish anyone well. I just don't think that college sports needs him anymore. I really don't. He had his day in the sun. He did what he did. I just don't get it, man. I mean, college sports is sleazy anyway. Let's be honest, but I just don't get it. I really don't understand how, especially in the Big East. I mean, the Big East, why would you want to have anything to do with Rick Pitino? I just don't get it. I mean, you got so many good younger coaches out here flourishing. Look at the coach in Texas. You look at the Hurley, what they're doing with their respective teams. I don't get it. Find a younger coach, man, and let them lead you into the next, generation, whatever. It's just this retread of Rick Pitino, almost to the point where I'm gonna throw this out at you, man. I mean, even Michigan State, I know what's name is. He's been there for a while, but at what point we're gonna look at Izzo and go? I've been saying his name. I said the same thing about Kentucky and Calipari. Let's get real, man. Let's get real. A lot of these guys are starting to be, they're getting up there. These younger cats don't respect them like they used to. They don't really want to go there and play there anymore. It's something to consider. There's something to consider. It's just my version.
All right. We're going to keep you up to date on who we picked last week. We never give up who we picked before the tournament starts. It's kind of a secret. And so we put the brackets together. And then next week we'll talk about or cry about what happened in the first or second round with our picks. But stay tuned to the Goon Squad right here on the First 40 Sports Show. Let's go to the NBA. And the NBA, Milwaukee, first team to 50 wins this season. Boston is sliding, and they're sliding quick. They're at 500 in the last 10, a 5-5 record. Philly 7-3 last 10 games in their conference, so they're moving up. But I tell you again, don't bet on Mongo Slade and Philly in the playoffs. I'm telling you, they're just not going to do it. I sat and watched the Knicks LA game, and they did it without their point guard. But the Knicks really, I don't care how long you've been watching the Knicks, you always get that feeling in the fourth quarter that they're going to let the game go, and they fought through it. This team is a little different. They fight through those moments. It's almost like there's a cloud over the Knicks in the fourth quarter, but they fight through those moments, and they did with LA because LA they had about 20. LA came back, and they were able to finish the game. But you got Denver, who is really kind of sliding in the last few games. They're at 500 right now. Memphis is starting to play really well at this particular time, 6-4 in the last 10. And they kind of taking that number 2 spot away from Sacramento. Your eye test of the NBA, man.
I think Boston, Denver are starting to hit the wall of being tired, bro. These teams have been playing hard, aggressive all season. And I think they're starting to kind of wind down. And I would almost think that, I'm not saying the load management, I would almost think that their coaches need to start to look at them and give them less minutes and prepare them for the playoffs, because these young cats, I really believe, I don't think Boston learned how to stop playing, and I don't think the league has caught up with him. But Tatum was on a tear trying to be MVP and all that. I think as a team, they just kind of worn down. The same thing with the Joker, man. I think Denver was out there. They was out there playing when other teams are basically kind of coasting along, moving along. These teams are kind of pushing everything and going with the foot to the pedal. So I think it kind of caught up with them. I Milwaukee, you know, I could not be impressed with them. I think they're going to come out East. And I know you say about Mongo Slave, man, but I think this is a different Philadelphia 76er team mentally. I think they're different. With that being said, I'm not going to say Doc is not going to get in their way because Doc can't find a way to get. We've seen it before. It can happen. Doc can get in their way, but I think this is a different team. I think they're going to make some noise in the playoff. I think they're going to surprise some people, make some noise. But I want to say this real quick, man, because I think the NBA need to deal with this load management stuff. It's getting out of control, bro. It's getting out of control. I mean, if you don't have a defined injury, you need to be playing. It's just that simple. I know not Doc. Pop did that years ago, and he kind of started this with Duncan and all years ago. But it's out of control now, boss. I mean, you had a game where there's nothing wrong about a week ago with Anthony in LA, and the coach sat him down just in case he didn't want to get hurt. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they're doing that with the Houston game coming up, where they don't want him playing back to back, so he won't be playing against Houston. And I got a sneaky suspicion Houston's going to beat them and knock them down to the number 11 spot. And then what are you going to do then?
How are you making that much money, bro? You can't play back to back games.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, and at some point, I mean, the commissioner, and I give him credit for most time he handled things quite well. You got to put something in motion, bro. This can't be happening. It can't be. I no one's paying to see these guys walk around with fancy clothes on the sideline when they could be playing, bro.
Yeah. And Golden State, I had a chance to watch them. Man, Steph Curry, man. I mean, say what you want. I just love watching him play. But a real quick question. I know the NBA, I'm sorry, have put this kind of, you have to play a minimum of certain games to be eligible for awards in the NBA. What do you think about that move by the NBA?
I think it's accurate, man. I don't, because the NBA a lot of times float around on a popularity contest. A lot of times it's not what you do, it's how well you're known, how well the public social media kind of respond to you. And I think realistically, I'd rather see, let's say, out of you played 65 games, but you gave it those 65 games, I'm with you, man. I mean, if you had an injury that basically caused you to miss playing, I can understand it. But the games that you played, you went out there and played. Now, if you played 65 and out of those 65, let's say 20 of those games, you barely showed up. You were just out there. You had your moments. You got the highlights. That's not MVP caliber, bro. So even now when you look at this year, with the MVPs, who to me, and I know everybody go, well, what their team do? No, give me the player that basically made sure their team was in position to win every single time they was on the floor. That's what I judge it by. You can get stat crazy and do everything else, but if you took off sometimes, even on the floor, you're not MVP. You're not MVP. Because see, we grew up in an era where that's what players did. Moses Malone, these cats, they want every if they was on the floor, they give you all they got.
Yeah.
That's how it was. They're not on the floor, kind of like, tonight wasn't a good night for me.
Remember when Henderson from the Boston Celtics wore a neck brace and was playing with a neck brace?
Yes.
That's what I think of when these guys talk about load management. I need my toe hurt, my stomach hurt. This dude is playing with a neck brace.
True or not true, Michael Jordan played with the flu, bro.
Yeah.
Flu. I just don't get and they kill me. I love the game. You love no freaking game. Just get out of here with that nonsense. Seriously. I mean, I'm not saying you should be out there with the flu, but it should be, if you are that dedicated, if you are, it would take something very severe to pull you off the floor. You want to be out there every single night, bro, and doing what you got to do, especially if your team is battling to make it into the playoffs. Especially, bro.
I'll end it with this. Josh Hart from the Knicks said, hey, there are people out there pulling 8, 10, 12-hour shifts working on their job. I go out and play basketball for a couple hours a day. Come on.
And they get away with it, boss.
Yeah.
Get away with it. Yeah.
And making tons more money than the folks pulling those shifts. Man, it's upside down. It's upside down.
Yeah.
Let's go to the NFL real quick, man. There's been a lot of transactions. You called it last week with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's with the Raiders, which I don't think it might not be a bad move going to the Raiders, being under that coach, because all you got to do is manage the game. But anywho, you got Dalton going to the Panthers. You got the Panthers former quarterback going somewhere, I think to New Orleans or somewhere else. I mean, it's all over the place. You got Waller, which I think the Giants did a great job picking up that tight end. The tight end's always open. He was hurt. I thought before that guy got hurt, he was really killing it with the Raiders. Oddly enough, he just got married to my girl Plum, and she put out a tweet saying, "I guess we didn't invite him to the wedding, so they shipped him out to New York." What are your thoughts about the transactions, man?
I like that pickup by the Giants. Hopefully, Danny Dimes giving the ball. I think he's tough. He does have a tough time staying on the field, but I will say this, man. That Raiders bringing in Garoppolo. I'm sorry, man. This coach here believes that he can bring him back and do, and that they thought that all along. They probably thought that when the season started.
Yeah,
I think those two gonna go down in flames, bro. I think they're going down in flames. I didn't like. I know it was last week, but I didn't like what New Orleans did with their quarterback pick. Again, they look at these quarterbacks, man, they roll them out. But some of these quarterbacks have shown you they can't lead a franchise. Of the names that you listed, I mean, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, you was on the Dallas Cowboys. A talented Dallas Cowboys team couldn't get it done. You was on the Saints, talented offense, couldn't get. Where you going to go now, bro? Where you going? What team you going with? I mean, it's like, how many times you guys see Andy Dalton? Andy Dalton can't get it done, but he keeps finding jobs. I mean, so that to me is, and you act mediocrity, look at some of these NFL quarterbacks, because that's who they are, bro. There's a whole bunch of them, a whole bunch. But yet, we got one good quarterback, MVP caliber. Can't get a good contract.
Yeah.
All right.
And he says he had no intentions on getting an agent, which you are rooting for at that particular point. I think different, but he's controlling his career. I can't argue against that. Do what you do, man. Hopefully it works. I'm surprised that the Washington Commanders did not go down the road and go get him, because they would flourish with him.
Well, I don't think at this point, I commend him for sticking to his guns. Now, would he get the contract that he wants? I don't know, but I don't think an agent at this point can make much of a difference, bro. I just really don't. I don't see them stepping in, making it. Baltimore wants him, but they don't want to pay him. I think Baltimore really wants him, but they don't want to pay him what he needs to be paid. And if you look at that contract that they offered him, it's only $135 million guaranteed. I don't want to hear if he plays this way. No, the guarantee should be what it is, bro. If you're, in my opinion, if you're not willing to lock this cat up for 175 or 200 guaranteed, stop talking. Stop talking. There's no agent going to get him that with Baltimore, bro. So to me, I don't see it. Now, I think another team, because he couldn't really talk to anybody. No one could have talked to him. It just came out a few days ago until today at 4 p.m. So when they was talking about we're not interested, they're lying.
Yeah.
They could say that, but you couldn't talk to him. So now the doors is open. You have until July to work out a deal with this cat. Bro, somebody out of nowhere is going to come in and offer this cat some money. There's a desperate team out there. Maybe we haven't thought of them, but there's a desperate team out there right now that's willing to give this cat some money. And I think it's coming towards him.
Yeah, this is disrespectful on part of the Ravens, because this guy was an MVP, and he hasn't even reached the peak of his career yet, and you're treating him like this.
Yeah.
Why would he want to come back to the Ravens?
I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. At him. But I thought this last year. I thought he should have sat out last year. I thought when they couldn't really come to terms with you, or they weren't willing to move, bro, you saw these other quarterbacks forgetting that can't carry your jock strap. And they're getting that money, why are you out there playing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the former quarterback from the Panthers went to San Francisco they signed him for a year.
They were saying that, what's the name?
Darnold.
I saw this today. What's the quarterback that was with Cleveland, went to the Panthers?
Baker Mayfield.
They said Buccaneers want him to start. Buccaneers. Yes, sir. Come on, me. Here we go. That's what I'm trying to say to you. He played one good game in the Rams uniform. Now
Yeah. Wow. So I'm trying to figure out what San Francisco is doing. You grab Darnold. Why? You could have kept Garoppolo. Why You just could have kept Garofalo. Here, we'll pay you another year. Just stay on the team in case we need you because quarterbacks, they fall like flies here. But I did not read that. I did not see that. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That's what the Buccaneers want.
Wow.
Starting, not fighting for a position, starting.
Wow.
You tell me that head coach at Tampa Bay is going to be there much longer.
Wow. Wow.
Seriously, man.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. All right, let's go to another story. This is a story we've been talking about back and forth all week. Michael Irvin, the tape finally came out. The Marriott released the footage of the hotel encounter. Of course, Michael Irvin has a $100 million lawsuit against the Marriott. Give me your thoughts about this, man.
Michael Irvin is done, bro. Period. I'm serious, man. Michael Irvin is done. He's basically worked himself into an area where I don't think he can pull himself back out of. And what happens sometimes, man, with lawyers, they will basically keep a train moving, hoping that a settlement will come. They all know that they can't basically win, but they hope if they get in the media enough and they kind of cause enough PR damage that you step up. Let me just say this to you. Marriott has deep, deep, deep pockets. They're not losing any business based on the fact that Michael Irvin's saying that they're falsely accusing him. So to me, Michael has basically killed any particular chance of him working in sports media in the future. He's done, bro. Whether he wins this or not, I don't think he's going to win. And as I said, I might have said this on the show last week. Why are you not suing NFL Network? If you feel like he was pulled off the air and just, and what you said was, why are you not going after them? Because you already know they got it on you, man. So from what I understand, what I've read, if it's correct, what he said to her was highly inappropriate. Highly inappropriate. See, everybody's talking about you touched your arm. Everybody looking for to throw her down and rip her shirt open. No, bro. What he said to her, what he said was highly inappropriate. And from a man that was intoxicated that can't remember, bro, when these lawyers start asking you questions, they're gonna cut you up like chopped liver, man. Chopped liver. And guess what your lawyer's gonna do at that point? When they realize that there ain't no settlement come, they're gonna say we got other cases to work on. They're gonna say we got other cases to work on, and they're gonna walk away. Because you better believe right now, Michael Irvin ain't paying them the money. They're basically hoping that of that $100 million, they settle for 30. We take our money, you go home. But why would a franchise settle with anyone when they're not in the wrong? They're not in the wrong. All they said was the NFL Network is based on his inappropriate action. We don't want him staying here. That's all they said, bro. Anything from that point on, you went on and created on your own. Going to the media, talking, flapping, I didn't do anything, bro. So good luck, man. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Michael Irvin fan on the field and off the field. I supported him. I watched this cat basically turn his life around. But you and I was talking about this before we came on air. Bro, you're working. You're at work. And why you walk around with the Super Bowl at work intoxicated?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
That looks bad. Today? That's really bad.
Yes, sir. What are you doing, Mike? See, those are the things you want to talk about. You want to, they just, why are you doing that, Mike?
Yeah, because you represent the network, 24/7 when you're over there. So you have to be on your best behavior. It makes you kind of wonder, I want to wait until everything is out. I know it really looks bad right now. You were saying earlier before we did the show that the security guards might have heard the conversation and the inappropriate things that Michael Irvin has said. I didn't have that information before. I thought it was just he said, she said kind of thing. It does look like when he touched her on the arm a couple of times, she kind of backed up and kind of got her boundaries set a little bit, but she still seemed engaged. It didn't seem like whatever they were talking about, we couldn't hear it. None of us could hear it, but it seemed like whatever they were talking about, it wasn't, inappropriate. She was being professional. He was being engaging with the client. He was saying a couple of weeks ago or a week ago that, talks to a lot of people. He doesn't remember everything he said, but of course he was drinking. And so who among us haven't said some things and don't remember what we said drinking? But what you said was very key, that when you're on the clock with your company, you are on the clock 24/7. So you can't be out there drinking and acting like, you in your playing days, hanging out in the bar and all that other stuff because you represent the NFL Network.
Yes, sir, man. I mean, I'll say this, in light, even in light, I hear what you're saying. Why are you touching her 3 to 4 times? It's just, I mean, that's a question I'm just putting out there, rhetorical question, but why, bro? You don't know her. Why? I don't hear I touched her on her elbow. Why are you touching her? I mean, let's just make this woman your girlfriend. You're at the same establishment, okay? You're standing there away from her. You walk up or you see from a distance Michael Irvin touching her. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Yeah.
What are you thinking, boss?
Yeah, he's making a move. He's making a move. He's making a move. Yeah, it really looks bad, man. It really looks bad on Michael Irvin. And we were talking earlier about I remember when Michael Irvin quit drinking and using drugs. And so if he's doing that again and if it's considered a relapse and he goes to old behaviors, then bam. Um, like an attorney, like you said earlier, you could be the attorney on this case. Went for the Marriott. So I hope they just settle this, get it out the way, because it really looks bad. I don't know if the NFL Network will ever hire him or ESPN will ever hire him again based on this. But like you said earlier, when I asked you, you just did one line. He's done. He may be done after this because nobody
Yes.
wants to take a risk on it, especially
Yeah.
in the Me Too era.
Yeah.
Hit me with your question, man.
I think I touched on this a little while ago. What do you feel about this load management with basketball, bro? I mean, has it gotten to the point where it's time for the commissioner to kind of step up and work something out with the union? That's the question, man.
Yeah, and one of the things that I thought about, I know they're not going to do, but when the star player is missing from the game, you need to refund not all of the money, some of the money, because people are buying tickets based on your star power and what you're promoting on TV. So you need to give the fans back something, or give them the option whether or not, hey, so and so is going to be out of this game. We give you the option to get your money back because we know you bought, a ticket because you wanted to see this particular player play. You're wearing his jersey. This is your favorite player. You're there to see them, and they're not there. You can't do like in a theater, like playing so and so part. The understudy is playing. No, give them the option to say, "Hey, I want some of my money back," or give me another ticket or half price on another ticket. Cut this one in half. Give me a half price on another ticket so I can come back and see that star player later. But it's really getting out of hand because you and I talked about, you know, earlier about the brother used to wear the neck brace playing in games. Guys playing with masks on. I mean, we come back. I guess people call us old school, but we come from an era and born in an era. We saw guys, limping, broken, hands, all the stuff out there playing, and they didn't make a quarter of the money that these guys are making. So it's no excuses. Get out. They're paying you that money. Get out there and play. And the NBA needs to do something about it as soon as possible.
You touched base on the play, man. I remember years ago I went to go see. I didn't realize at the time. I went to go see. It was a play called Ada, and Toni Braxton was the lead actress in the play, singing. And I went like I think it was Labor Day weekend. I had tickets and I went and they, was sitting there. Toni Braxton will not be performing. She took the weekend off. But I didn't realize at the time, if an understudy steps in, you have a right to get your money back immediately. Immediately. You ain't gotta wait. You go to the ticket box office, bang, here you go, because you bought the ticket thinking this person was going to be playing. And you're right. I don't know if NBA would ever move to that point, but it's a thought. If you're buying these tickets in advance thinking I'm going to see this matchup, and you go out there and you got these players playing that you didn't pay to really see, yes, something needs to happen, bro. I don't know how that would take place, but something, because these guys here, man, when you was talking, I thought about the quarterback that played for the Chargers years ago. He went on to play for the Colts. I remember like he was in the league for 4 or 5 years. He made it to the playoffs with the Chargers. This cat in the playoff played with a bad knee. He could have barely moved from center. And I'm like, he could have easily sat down. That's just one of amazing stories. And you get these cats basically, I woke up this morning, I passed gas. I'm not playing today. I'm not playing today. No thing. It's just, I don't understand how, I mean, it is what it is, but how you keep pampering these young men.
especially in basketball, because in
Yeah.
football you can understand somebody's hurt. They just can't. I
Basketball?
mean, basketball, you're not hitting every play. You're not. You're not. It ain't as physical as football.
You and I are Knicks fans. Real quick, man. I'll drop this in. Remember Charles Smith with the Knicks? Charles Smith. Yeah, I remember he used to do this all the time. He wasn't even called low man. He would just show up and say, "I heard I'm not want to play." So I remember one day in the playoffs, this cat basically in the play. It was during practice. He was out there shooting shots. So Pat Riley walked up to him and said, "Hey, you know, you think you can? You look like you're playing pretty good. You think you can play for like 5 minutes?" He said, "Yes, I probably think I could. If I had to." I probably could play some time. He said, "Why the F are you playing then?" Guess what? He sued that night and play. Because if your ass can go out there and just play in practice, why'd you play in the game?
Yeah.
But remember years ago, there was a cat in Chicago. Did this for 2 years. Think about this. For 2 years, he would be during the warm-up slamming and everything else. Walk off the floor, go put his suit on, come and watch the game.
To watch the game. Yeah. And so basketball to me is no excuse. You get out there and play. You're only playing an hour a game. Get out there and play. Get out there and play. Run up and down the court. You ain't got to shoot. Just run up and down the court, play a little defense, sit on the bench, whatever. Football, I understand it because it is a physically battering game. But in basketball, there's no, same in baseball. No excuse. No excuse. You're not playing 85, 95% of the game. You're waiting for the pitcher. You're not playing. Oh, I need some rest. For what? You resting during the game. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. All right. So we talked about last week. I have one question. We talked about last week any dark horse teams. I know you've been looking at your brackets. Any team kind of based on how they set up the brackets seem to be a dark horse to you that could kind of just pull it off?
I don't think they could pull this off, man, but I think they're going to do more damage than we might have thought 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it almost hurts my tongue to say this. Duke.
Duke?
Yeah. I think Duke can take down 3 games, bro. 3, possibly 4. I just think the way they've come around, the way they matured over the season, the way they kind of, I think where they're lined up, I think they look pretty good. I look at West Virginia and their head coach. Is it time for him to step down? No, that's not even the question.
Yeah.
How many times how many times are you going to swing at the apple and don't get it? But I was going to say, if there's a team that I think that can make some noise, I don't think they'll win it, Duke.
One team, and they're also out the ACC. Watch out for Miami and that brother Wong. They've been doing it all year under the radar, and a lot of people are just sleeping on it. Look out for Miami out of the ACC. And they even have a commercial out said, "Don't pick us."
Wow.
If you're pulling out a bracket, don't pick us.
I like that.
It's almost like they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder, and I love that commercial. Don't pick us.
Yeah.
We just won the ACC. Don't pick us. Last second shot, man.
Oh, man, I think if anything, for this Michael Irvin, situation, as men, we got to realize, bro, we don't have the license just to basically treat women as sex objects, man. And I'm not trying to say he did or he didn't, but we need to be always thinking, being respectful, treating them as, who they are, man. And when we go out of bounds with that, there's a price to pay. It may not have been days past that there wasn't, but there's going to be a price to pay. Whenever you come across a woman, think of her as your mother, your sister, your aunt. Treat her as such as how you would treat them, and then everything would be cool.
Yeah. I have a March Madness last second shot. I know last week I was talking about South Carolina winning it all, but watch one team that may upset them if there's an upset to happen in the women's tournament. Stanford out of the West.
Ooh.
That's our show. We'll see you next week. Enjoy March Madness. We'll be back.